Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. Again, John, Dave and myself are going to look back over Ireland's victory against Italy last weekend, all the other Six Nations, and look forward to our game against France, and also preview our match against the Dragons on Sunday. So boys, handy victory against Italy, got everything we needed.
We have to talk very quick because so much to get through.
Yeah, it was exactly what we needed. A match that we won, played poorly, just enough to give ourselves some work-ons and get Joe out shaking his big teacher's stick at people, and and of course next week the personification of God on earth, i.e. Johnny Sexton, is back.
His only son.
His only son, yeah, exactly, is back. So we got through it without Johnny Sexton, Jamie Heaslip, Sean O'Brien at the last minute.
Yeah.
Job done, box ticked. Nothing to see here.
Remind me of the games against Munster, and when Leinster and Munster always played in the Aviva in, we say, October before the Heineken Cup started, where neither team wanted to really show any kind of a hand before the European started. So both teams were playing pretty much basic game plans, and I think Leinster or Ireland were playing that way as well. I mean, there was nothing in any way complicated about what we did. It was mostly 1 and 2 out stuff. There was no really clever moves except for maybe the one in the lead up to the Murray try. Yeah. It was basic rugby played well, and that's all you have to do to beat Italy. Sadly,
yeah. But there was a bit of a spanner obviously thrown into the works fairly well just before kick-off when O'Brien
went down. You
could see the frustration on his face. They slowed down his swear when he was.
And it's a pity because he would have been primed for the French game, having played 50 in the Wolfhounds or whatever he played. If he'd have got another 50 or 60, and he would have been just cooking right, maybe to bench against France, or certainly to play some part. But it wasn't to be, unfortunately, and this now puts him back. And I suppose it's a question now: is he going to be playing for Leinster or Ireland this weekend? Yeah. So over to Mr. Joe Schmidt.
If Joe thinks he's fit, he'll start him. I mean, I don't think there's any real question about it. I mean, we were saying the same thing after the Italy game. We got through 50 minutes. He might make or after the England Saxons game. He's gotten through 50 minutes. He should be okay for the bench, and of course he starts him. And I think the same situation will pertain. The only thing is, it just shows the strength and depth and the strength of the squad, the mental strength of the squad. Because I mean, many is the time I've seen teams lose a player in the warm up, and they haven't reacted well. Ireland didn't miss a beat. Tommy O'Donnell slotted in there perfectly, played really well. Looked like he'd been in that position all week, ready to start. So no, it's unfortunate to lose a player like Sean O'Brien's caliber. But if you're going to lose him, you may as well lose him against Italy. And at least we had plenty of. The
same thing kind of happened.
Backup.
Same thing happened in the autumns when Rhys Ruddock came in for Chris Henry, was it? When he was injured, or he had his little incident. And also it was surprising that he played Keatley. Like, we weren't expecting that last week.
I was.
Oh yeah.
I said it. I thought he'd play Keatley. Remember, I said I thought he'd go for that because he picked Madigan as well, or picked Jackson as well. He likes that kind of out half. He likes a controlling style of out half. I thought Keatley actually did well. He had a few shaky minutes early on. Some of the trajectories of his kicks were a bit low, but he corrected that, and I thought he played well.
And it's something I think we flagged last week as well, is that it's a bit of a partnership with himself and Murray that just might have swung it,
Did you watch last week's episode at all?
No. I don't watch the episode. I'm in them enough. No, I do. But you were right. I mean, some of his kicks were just they were probably 5 meters too long, and it put our defensive line in a bit of difficulty when we were trying to go and attack the catcher.
But as he grew into the game, he corrected that, which is always good to see. And I thought he played. I thought he had a very good game. Yeah. I mean, and the question that was flagged about him was his goal kicking.
And he nailed them. Yeah,
he nailed his goal kicks, and that's all you want. I mean, it doesn't matter where they are on the pitch as long as you nail them.
Yeah, I think kind of a funny way that game was an illustration of Joe Schmidt's. Like, it was, they were kind of so structured. They had it drilled into their brain that you got to work on these guys for 60 minutes. Don't give them any chances. Don't do anything. Just pound at them for 60 minutes, and then the tries will come. And kind of that's what happened. But it's you could really see the system. You could see that the players were just doing their job. Each player doing the job to as if they're so well drilled, or it shows a couple of things. It shows that they really trust the coach, obviously, but it also shows that they don't let their instincts take over at the wrong time. You know, when they're when a guy just does something out of character. Okay, it can be, it can surprise the opposition, but it's no good if it surprises your own players.
Rugby as a game, as a sport, the way it's regulated at the moment and the way it's refereed at the moment rewards orthodoxy. It's just the way it is at the moment. I mean, I don't know why, but so Joe Schmidt plays to a certain extent a very orthodox game. I mean, the All Blacks, for example, the All Blacks do nothing fancy.
If Matt O'Connor played that game, there'd be people still giving out about him at this time of the week.
But the All Blacks, for example, do nothing fancy. They do very, very simple things very, very well.
Yeah.
And that's what Joe Schmidt's teams always try to do. Very, very simple things very, very well.
Yeah. And even like the thing with the control, a few conversations with people during the week, and I'm convinced that when you use the word, because it's become a buzzword with Madigan now, controlling out half, or he needs to work on his control, and it's become a big buzzword. And I'm convinced that people have a little tape in their head that plays Ronan O'Gara kicking the corners in 150 Munster and Ireland matches, just going over in a loop in their heads, and that's what control means to them. And I think you quoted Dan Carter there once of when do you pass, when do you kick? I kick bad ball, and I pass good ball. And it sounds so simple, but the whole thing about control is to be able to judge all of those things, where all your players are on the pitch, where all the opposition players are on the pitch, all in a split second, and decide whether it's good or bad ball. And that's what makes Dan Carter, or that's what control
but
is
you think
about.
it's sort of synonymous with maybe Smith's teams, isn't it? That it doesn't really matter about the personnel. If you fit into the, it's like replacing a part of a machine that you put something else in. They're expected to do their job, and if they do their job, the thing will work, and off you go. It doesn't matter. You remember last year, the two wingers didn't feature in the autumns, and Trimble ended up being the Irish player of the season.
It's Joe Schmidt has the system above all. It's almost like something out of 1984 in a way. He has Ireland will play this way, and any player who wants to play for Ireland will fit into that system.
Yeah.
And the thing is, unlike other coaches who have in the past been very doctrinaire about their system, what Joe does is he demonstrates to players by
works.
Results that if they do what he tells them to do, they will win medals. It's very, very simple. It's the ultimate way of reinforcing good behaviour. It's the ultimate positive reinforcement. If you do A, B and C, you'll be rewarded with a big shiny thing at D.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's to a certain extent, people have got this thing about Joe Schmidt that he played this glorious off the cuff
running rugby,
free ball rugby. Nothing could be further from the truth. Joe Schmidt is probably the most organised, process driven, pre-planned coach Ireland has ever had, and I say that with a certain Mr. O'Sullivan in the background. But the difference is Joe Smith's process is better.
Yeah, well, the game has changed so much.
And the game has changed, of course.
The game has really changed. It's very hard to compare eras, but even now with 10 years ago, it's if you watch a game from 10 years ago now...
I'm talking about guys who are perceived as being guys who played
structured,
very highly structured. Structure is a great word, and that completely fell out of my head. Highly structured game plan.
Well, that was Eddie all over.
Yeah.
I mean, all the tries we used to score off first phase, and and he was great at it too.
But he was very much, in this
control
particular position on the pitch. When you're 73 metres from your own line on the left hand side, 14 metres from the sideline, you must do this particular move. Whereas I think Smith's slightly different than that.
Donegal Callan, don't touch that ball.
Exactly. Well, there you go. Whereas I think Smith is just very extremely organised, and as a result, do you remember that try? I mean, the best try that I can remember seeing for a long time was that try against Cardiff in the quarter final of the Heineken Cup. I think
it was
2 blind passes.
2012. Yeah, fantastic. But all that was down to doing a simple job extremely well, running a line, winning the ball off the top of the line out, giving the pass inside, running the correct line. And as a result, there was no one even touched the try scorer or Driscoll under the post.
And even more, if you like, a telling example of the Schmidt philosophy was the try we scored against Biarritz in the semi-final of the the Mickey
Amlin.
Mouse Trophy, the Amlin, because I think it was Madigan scored the try eventually, and it went from a line out on one side of the pitch through 3 or 4 phases to a ruck on the other side of the pitch before the break was made. But every single one of those stages was actually scripted. I mean, that was complete plan from even down to Jamie Heaslip getting an illegal block in. That was all part of the script, and that's. There's the thing that also that Schmidt has is Schmidt can show the players through, if you like, winning that match against Biarritz and guys who played with him, and then they talk to their teammates from Munster or whatever when they're in Ireland camp, and they buy into it, and then they win a championship, and they see it that if we do what this guy tells us to do, we're going to win, and that's what he's done. So therefore, when you go into a game against Italy and you're down with say maybe half a dozen regulars or certainly guys who'd be contenders for the start.
Yeah.
You can bring guys in who just slot in, and it makes not real difference, but their presence doesn't weaken the team.
When you look at the back row we had out, for example, like the last minute of O'Donnell and Geordie Murphy instead of Heaslip, who had a great game as well. But
do you remember that thing that Prise did? No, me neither.
You're going to rest your case there, right? Well, I do remember that thing he did with his finger against the ball, but just nearly touching it.
The idea
You had
is
to
to
be
knock
in-
the ball on.
You had to be in HD to see him touch the ball.
In fairness, he should have got a yellow card actually, because I thought he took. I thought he took
He
Carney
seems
out
to
in the
lose
air.
the rag, and he was
Yeah.
constantly having a go with the ref for the entire match.
Well, apparently that ref and him have a history.
Yeah.
Yeah, according to Roger, they have a history anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, like, their back row on paper was
it's one of the best.
one of,
yeah.
I was expecting to get a bit of a hiding from that, especially when O'Brien went down. I thought we're going to be second best at the breakdown, and we kind of were a little bit at the beginning of the game. We were,
I think
it was
we
touch and go.
just looked like a team that hadn't played together
Yeah.
in, I don't know,
And
whatever,
then you look
12
at
weeks.
I mean, the thing is, their back row had 150, 200 caps between them. We had 38, and the entire pack had ridiculously low. If you took a Paul O'Connell out of the pack,
Yeah.
it was an entire ridiculously low number of caps. But our back row, I think, had 38 caps between them. And you see guys like O'Donnell and Murphy. You could actually see them growing into the game. They started out obviously playing up against these three, like Zani in particular, and obviously Prise, well-known players. But you see them kind of stepping up to the mark as the game went on, and begin to mature and realise, okay, that this is what we can beat them by doing this, and this.
Yeah, but it was a very inexperienced team. I think the two centres have only a handful of caps.
10, making his
the
Six
Irish
Nations
had 4,
debut.
I think, or 3 or 4. There was one Leinster guy in the entire backline. I mean, when was the last time we saw an Ireland team with so few Leinster players in it? Not that it's a criticism, but it's unusual that
The
it
back line was all Leinster at one stage.
Considering for the last 15 years it's been
Well, it's great to
dominated
see
by
finally have a national coach that isn't provincially biased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ever wanted an example of it, it was the selection at out half.
Yeah. Well, I thought one guy, and he scored his try, we'll have a look at it, but I thought Murray had another fine game for Ireland.
He's the real deal.
Murray's the best.
I love him.
I thought actually Ben Youngs had a very good game for England, but Murray is the best scrum half in the Northern Hemisphere. Certainly the best native scrum half in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
This is
our try, is it?
This was just shortly
this
after.
is just showing the
incident,
the incident.
Castro Giovanni taking the absolute wee. First, the hooker gets
in fairness, there's a fair amount of we've been taken there.
I love Castro.
And there's
Just-
Castro. Look,
I'll just join
look,
in.
I'm fanning myself at the back there.
How he didn't get the bin, I just don't know.
I think the ref had already decided to send
Probably,
Girardini the yellow, but I don't know how Castro got away with it.
think
The
he's-
camera initially went to Castro because he
He's
thought
trying to hide.
Yeah.
If I had been the ref, I would have said, I was going to send you off, but now I'm actually going to send you off instead.
Maybe he was just worried that Castro would get another T-shirt about him.
Well, I mean, our front row, I thought, actually, we're talking about two of the Italian front rowers. I thought our front row was absolutely superb against them.
yeah.
I really did. I thought Mike Ross was
I was
excellent.
going to say that, like, considering that he hasn't played very much.
And
he
he's-
played for the A's, I know, but he kind of is obviously was second choice in the European Cup
Yeah.
games.
And he's also a guy who's famously needs a run of games to
Yeah.
be at his best. He stepped up.
But
pretty
like,
well
I
there.
liked his comment. He said, "Well, Schmidt
Put faith in him.
put
yeah.
faith in me, and I've now got to repay him."
And
Yeah,
it was a
this
lovely
is-
move off
it was
this
a nice
where,
move,
where
actually, yeah.
Geordie Murphy and I didn't see who was behind them, but they just drove straight for it. Here it is.
Yeah.
Who's that? Oh, Jack McGrath. Okay. They nearly got there.
Yeah.
But it's great when you have a scrum half that's nippy enough, but also powerful enough to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's two props he's got on, or a prop and a hooker, or whatever it was, a prop and somebody big that he went under.
The player he's always been compared to is Mike Phillips.
Yeah, only because he looks a bit like he's
Well,
got dark
because-
hair and he's
because of-
tall.
Well, because of the physique and the style of rugby he's capable of playing. But I think he's a much better player than. I think he's going to be a better player than Mike Phillips.
He reminds me of Terry Holmes. I remember
think
him.
he's
from-
Yeah,
already-
that's a long time
That
ago.
was a long time ago.
He's already a better
Yeah.
player.
I think he's going to be Mike Phillips. Now, in fairness, he's got
Oh, he
2 or
was a
3
great
Grand
player,
Slams.
great
He's
player.
been on Lions tours, the whole lot. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to give the guys props. But I think that that Murray will be remembered as an even better player because I think he's got a. He can play any kind of game you want.
It's one position that we haven't really, excelled in producing great scrum halves. Some countries seem to, like Wales had a rake of them going back through the years, and even England. But like very few, you'd hardly ones that wouldn't stand out.
Well,
Stringer, I know he got like a ton of caps and he had a lightning fast pass, but he never went on the lines tour. Very few Irish. scrum
People
halves
say
have.
that the last great Irish scrum half was Colin Patterson. Now I don't know if that's true or not because it's a very long time ago. But he's certainly, I think Murray is the next great Irish scrum half.
yeah.
And when we look at O'Donnell, it's actually just saying about Murray. I saw him being interviewed, and
Nice bit of a rambunctiousness here from
Yeah,
the Lama.
The Lama really got stuck in. Get down.
Jeez.
No, I'm not getting down. No, you put me down. Oh, okay, then I'll go down. There's a lovely pass just outside Castro Giovanni's outstretched hand
Yeah.
that Madigan makes. There it is.
Well, Castro didn't exactly. The Italian defence.
He was then out of the line, and
There's a lot of stereotypes made about the Italian army. Very few of them are actually true, as it happens. But of those stereotypes, the Italian defence there lived up to them.
certain comedy in it, all right.
the
yeah.
number 12 was very poor.
Massey was very poor as well when he came into that, and you'd expect more of a player like that.
Tommy O'Donnell, though, in fairness to him,
Oh, he has.
was lightning quick. Like he was a little. There was 1 or 2 times in the first half he was kind of blown out a bit in the heavy stuff, but there's the kind of at 7 he is. He's a Lincoln
He's
7.
he's a fairly pneumatic powered handoff as well. you
Yeah.
know? I mean,
It's not that he's not a big strong guy.
he is a big strong guy.
He certainly is, but maybe up against the likes of a Picamoles or one of these guys, he's not particularly powerful. But he's like more a Keith Gleason kind of a 7 than a
The
South African
advantage
7.
The advantage he'd have against a Picamoles is his mobility.
Exactly, yeah.
He could get outside him.
Picamoles would be
The back row was
Staring
actually
down the
very-
road at him.
Yeah, the back row was very well balanced, as it turned out, because Murphy is by trade
An
a
8.
number 8, and he's very orthodox in that position. It worked out well for us. The thing to remember, I mean, we were saying earlier about the front row. I thought the front row went very well, and I thought there was a brief period of time when we had McGrath, Cronin, Moore on. I thought that front row actually really imposed themselves for 2. They had 2 scrums. Then now, I don't mean to be critical of the guy, James Cronin. I mean, he was his first, Six Nations, and he's a very young player, and he is kind of behind 2 or 3 in Munster.
Powerful guy, though.
Powerful guy. Once he learns to deal with the shock that he must have got even a Six Nations scrum, even as against the Italians are great scrummagers. The force is just something beyond he would have experienced in the past. So it took him 2 or 3 scrums to get into it. But towards the end, I thought he was fine, And when you consider that he's, just in terms of our strength and depth, I mean, it's been a weakness for Ireland historically. I mean, we had 2 props. If we were lucky, we had a good tight head and a good loose head any year. And if one of them was injured, we were in trouble. But now you look at a situation where, I mean, Cronin isn't the top guy in Munster, let alone...
Well, he's knocking on the door.
He's knocking on the door, but you would say that Kilcoyne is the top guy. McGrath isn't the top guy in Leinster.
But again, he's knocking on the door.
He's knocking on the door, but that's the strength we have. I mean, we have a situation where we do have. If we don't just have 2, we have multiples in each position.
Last year, when we scored 20 odd points in the last 10 or 15 minutes, where those points added to our points difference, and obviously then led that we won the championship based on points difference. I thought we kind of left something behind on that game.
Yeah,
but it's possible. But then you have to take into account the fact that the guys who were we were bringing guys on and they were better than the Italians, but we're still pretty far down the pecking order in terms of the overall scheme of things. And B, it was away. C, it started raining and it was quite greasy as well. So I was quite pleased with the situation. I mean, at the end of the day, all we have to do is win every match by 1 point.
That's true.
I was a little disappointed in both Wales and Italy. Italy, I expected a bit more from Italy, to be honest. When I say disappointed, I was obviously thrilled that we won it and all that, but I just thought they were going to give us more of a challenge than they actually
With
did.
all
And
of
I thought,
with all of their shenanigans before the match,
Wales.
Wales naming the team, playing silly buggers, naming the team
Keeping them
4
waiting
weeks
in
in
the
advance, and
tunnel.
keeping them waiting, and they're all every match that Gatlin plays. There's controversy
Silly
beforehand with the roof open or closed. Is it going to be, whatever? It always seems to make some sort of manufactured controversy.
didn't work out for him this time, did it?
No, it didn't. But I thought England looked very impressive.
I thought England were really, really
Very
good. I was
scarily impressive.
Scarily impressed by them. There was a point just before they scored their first try, about 15, 20 minutes in, where they noticeably took the pace up. You could actually see it happen, and Wales couldn't live with it. They just could not live with it. Like you were talking about all the stuff, all the shenanigans, if you like, all that stuff won't cover up the fact that Wales, who are a very good team, very good players, and Gatland, who's a very good coach, has spent too long together.
Yeah, we did say that.
And
last
it's all an attempt. I think Gatland knows that, and I think this is all an attempt
To freshen it up.
and
He's been there since 2007.
and change the dialogue.
There was a year sabbatical when he was doing the lines.
And sure, but who did he coach on the lines?
Yeah.
week. Wales.
Well, interesting, O'Driscoll was on the radio the other day, and he was talking about why he didn't take Edwards with him on the lines. That he took Farrell with him, and he said the only reason, when he said he obviously admitted to O'Driscoll privately, he said, I wanted to see what way England would do their defence.
Oh, he admitted it publicly himself,
Yeah.
that he did it himself.
did,
I mean, that's it's nice of him to use the lines for that.
Yeah, wasn't it?
But no, England. I thought all the questions we had over England, every single one of them was answered.
And
But
it
it's-
was
it-
affirmative.
I think
yeah.
isn't
George Ford looked.
born to the man.
Great.
It showed. I mean, Farrell is what Farrell is. George Ford has to be England's
But
out half of the World Cup.
But
Has to
he
be.
was given a great ride there, Dave. Like he had a pack that were
But sure, Farrell has had great rides in the
that's
past
true,
as well.
yeah.
And has he ever looked that good?
no.
I mean, you could complain. You could say, "Oh, maybe George Ford, maybe his goal kicking wasn't brilliant or whatever." But he looked like an England out half. He looked like an international 10. And I've never been sure about that with Farrell.
And you're right. And I remember Farrell played a couple of times for Saracens against Munster and looked all at sea
Yeah.
in Thomond Park. And I remember him. He was in the Aviva Stadium as well. It was like that the occasion got to
Yeah.
him. I don't know. I'm surprised that it does a man like him. But like it was obviously a bear pit to go to Cardiff. On a Friday night with the lights and all the rest.
Everybody
of it.
drunk off the brains.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he seemed to be just cool, calm, and collected.
I just thought that with all the injuries England had and the way Wales had a full deck, which is very rare in international rugby, stale and all as their coaching and players together maybe, I thought they'd just have too much for England in Cardiff,
Agree.
and they didn't. I don't think we were alone in predicting a Welsh win there.
No.
So the Welsh kind of disappointed me, and I hope they don't get their act together later in the tournament.
Well,
and
again, last
spoil
week.
it for us.
Last week, if you'd watched it, last week we asked the question of Lancaster. We said that if going into this
Has he
game
got feet of
with
clay?
this English team,
Yeah.
would answer the question about the feet of clay, and the answer is he doesn't. His feet
No.
are his feet are porcelain.
Or gold maybe.
Or goal. I mean, England played really, really well. Their players, the selections were right, the substitutions were right, and
Some of them
worryingly
by
for
accident,
Leinster,
Some of them by accident.
worryingly for Leinster, the Bath players all
Played
played
very
really,
well.
really well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you wonder, like, England occasionally stumble across their best. Like, they've got so many numbers compared to all the other countries that they occasionally stumble upon
across
their best
combination.
15 of thousands of players that they have available to them. And when they do, my God, they're great. And they look like they've...
That
managed
13
to-
is a Bath player, isn't he, Joseph?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He looked great, and I know he was the beneficiary of poor L. George North's comedy tackling for his try, but
Still had to do
he
it.
still had to do it. He looked very ducked under a couple of big lads, and
I know that was
he
a
looked-
wonderful. I thought that was a
part.
wonderful game. Actually, I mean, in fairness to Wales, they gave it. I mean, they weren't good enough on the day, but it didn't stop
gave
them
it
trying.
socks, yeah.
And it led to a really, really entertaining match. I mean, there's questions about the whole organisation of the event and about the aftermath in Cardiff. But in terms of the excitement of the fixture, it couldn't surpass it. I mean, that was the Six Nations
encapsulated.
awake with a bang, you know. But England are serious players now. It's going to be very, very tough because.
Thank God we have them at home, Dave.
Well, yeah, well that's it. I mean, you could argue England will argue that they have players to come back, and I'd argue that why would they?
So France narrowly beat Scotland, but I thought Scotland put it up to them.
They did put it up to them, and they also France didn't look very exciting. They didn't score a try. They looked a little bit at sea, and out in the backs where you'd expect them to have a spark, they didn't really have a spark. Now the downside of that is that they've now had a game under their belt, and they could easily snap it all together like France can do. And on current evidence, I would be feeling confident going into next week, but how many times have we beaten France in the last 20 years?
4, I think it's 4 in a row at the moment. Isn't it?
Well, it's 3.
A couple
I
of
think. Well, it
draws.
was 2 draws and a victory.
Two draws.
The French backline is designed to be functional and to win without necessarily exciting, because if they wanted to play exciting rugby, they wouldn't have the 12 that they have there, or the 13, depending on which way you look at it. But they wouldn't have the guy who's playing inside centre that's playing inside centre in Bastro.
Yeah.
Right? If they wanted to play
He's
exciting,
the outside centre.
well, they play. I think they play left and right rather than inside outside. But if they wanted to play exciting, thrilling blade French rugby, they'd have Fofana and we'll say Lamarat. But they don't. They have Bastro, who's there to make yards, win a penalty,
And
kick
get
the
in
ball.
over the ball.
Yeah, that's what he's there for.
That's his big skill. He's got hands like tits.
Yeah.
He can't pass the ball, but by Jesus, can he
he's-
get in over the ball?
He's a
And
blockage.
He's almost impossible
He's
to shift.
unmovable once he gets onto your...
He's a blockage in the French midfield. But if he has the ball, he's a blockage that's going forward.
Yeah,
You know?
and he's it's like unleashing a loose head prop with
Yeah.
pace.
Well, that's exactly what he is.
That's what he is, and he's got everything except hands. He's brilliant over the ball. He's brilliant. He's got brilliant pace. He's a brilliant tackler. He's strong as an ox. He's if he could, and he can offload, but he can't really string passes together. If he could do that, watch out, world.
Oh, it reminds me, Johnny Giles talking about Mark Hateley a couple of years ago. Mark Hateley was playing, I think, for Sampdoria. Johnny Giles was doing one of the matches, and he goes down. Look at Mark Hateley there. He's got lovely long hair. He's well tanned. He looks very muscular. He's rubbish at football, but he looks great.
Well, I don't think you could say that about Bastro.
No, I wouldn't say that. But he does. I mean, for a back, he has got hands like tits, like you said. I mean, if they replaced him with Lamra, I mean, I think they'd be much more dangerous because they have great strike runners outside. I mean, Huge and Thomas are great strike runners.
But you think of who's coaching the French backs. Like, you've got Lagisquet and you have San Andre. Like, two of
Two
the
wingers.
best, most exciting players you've ever seen in your life. And they come up with the dross that the French team is.
But Sant Andre's always been like that.
I know
He's
he has.
always
Oh,
had
even
a-
going back to Gloucester and Sale,
his view of rugby is a very, very limited, pretty one-dimensional way of thinking about it. Ironically, not
suits the game
entirely
nowadays.
suited to the modern game, but not particularly French, and certainly not the type you'd associate with the player that he was, or Lagisquet was. But France have enough power to do significant damage. I'm not sure that they're all that mobile up front. I'm not sure that their backs are all that bright as a unit.
I think we've got to be careful of what our tactics are. Like, if we go, like, say, certainly in the last 6 months,
I don't know what coach we're going to use to try those tactics now.
but certainly we have tended to kick an awful lot of possession away in the last 12 months. And if we kick anyway deep to them, like if we kick as deep as we did against Italy to France, they're going to cause us an awful lot of problems because you've got back,
Huge and Thomas.
and then if you've got someone like Bastro coming at you, the last thing you want to
Head
do
of
is
steam.
head of steam. You're kicking the ball to him, giving him a head start.
Well, the only thing is, I mean, the guy who should be kicking the ball, if everything goes to plan, would be Johnny Sexton.
Yeah.
He's quite good at it, and he also knows Teddy Thomas quite well as well because they play at the same club. France wouldn't be immune to kicking the ball either. I mean, Lopez has set the tone for France, and he plays a fairly, what for a French out half is a structured
Controlling game,
that's the way he's decided to play.
He has little pictures of Rog kicking the corners and going.
I
around
think
his
he
head.
does. Yeah, I think that's what I think he realizes that with what's outside him at 12, that 9 times out of 10 he's going to have to go for the corners.
Or else a big long spin pass out to the winger.
And I remember once being at a final trial, and Richie Wallace in Lansdowne Road. Richie Wallace got in the corner, and somebody said, "Oh, that was a great move because it was a lovely skip pass." And somebody said, "Great move. What was that called?" One wag said it was called a skip Danaher. But to a certain extent, Skip Bastro isn't the worst idea because Fofana is such a dangerous runner. I mean, if we had Fofana, a lot of our game plan would be based around getting the ball into his hands.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of French game plan seems to be keeping the ball off him.
Which
It's like
is
he
odd.
didn't make the French team a couple of months
It's
ago.
crazy
like.
stuff. But when
Well,
you say
long
it's
may
right,
they
if
be-
we
long may
kick
they
to
be
their back
crazy.
three, it could be problematic because Spedding likes to run it back as well.
He's going to lose all his players back to French club rugby in the off weeks, as
Yeah,
far as I know.
yeah.
They all go.
But he's come out and actually said, he only got his excuses in early and said, look, I'm hamstrung here with the way that the club's setup is, but give me the players for
believe
a
all
lot.
that?
No, but I know he's just feathering his nest a little bit. But when it comes to the World Cup, like he's kind of said, my focus is on the World Cup because I will have the players for a longer period of time. Whereas all the other coaches are kind of, well, we certainly put a huge emphasis on this. We're not going to ever throw the Six Nations in, to look forward to the World Cup. But he's got if he loses this game, it's not curtains for him. Whereas
But who's he playing in the World Cup?
he's playing us.
Does
Yeah.
he want to lose to us right now? I mean,
Probably not.
I
If
do-
he throws the
but I-
Six Nations, would he rather? Who does he want to beat out of all the other
Yeah.
5 teams?
I know, yeah,
in this?
But
It's
with the RFU, I'm not sure whether they'd prefer. I think the RFU would prefer us to win if we could win one of those games. If ourselves and France could win one of those games, who do you think which game do you think
they might choose this one?
they might choose this one to win? Whereas the FF4 might choose
The other one.
the other one. So the coaches could have. And now I think Joe Schmidt actually wants to win both of them.
Yeah,
I think he wants to
of
win
course.
everything. But I think that that certainly the French coach would have different pressures on him for the game in the World Cup than he does now. And he certainly, like you say about preparation time. I mean, one of the things we always say about the France is they look terribly unstructured, don't they? That's because he has almost no access to the players.
Yeah.
Whereas in the World Cup, he'll have all the access he wants, and he can bore them to death. The way that with his style
Maybe
of
they'll get
rugby.
worse.
Yeah, he'll make them even worse. But I think France will come to town. I think that individually their outside backs are talented. I think that
Oh yeah.
Bastro is powerful. Lopez and Cockett can control a game, and I think their pack is powerful but not particularly mobile. And I think that might be where we win it. I think our front five maybe, and then middle five against
Let's
theirs.
talk about our selection.
Yeah.
Like, can you see any changes being made? Obviously, Sexton's to come back in.
Very, very hard to predict all of it. I mean, Sexton and Easlip, I'd been teed up to walk straight back in. Will he put Healy? And, I'd kind of nearly put Healy and O'Brien into Leinster for the game, to get a bit of game time. I don't think that'll happen. I think O'Brien will be on the bench, possibly Healy too. He's not going to change the second row. He's
No.
probably not going to. I was also toying with the idea of putting Henderson in at 6, O'Mahony at 7 for a big power thing against the
That's the wrong thing to do against
The
France.
French, but,
That's
you
the
know,
wrong thing to do.
Joe Schmidt will have his own ideas.
You don't want to
on
get
that.
into an arm wrestle with these guys. You want to play
Yeah.
chasing with them.
I thought the way Scotland approached it, Scotland tried to run the ball at them, and
Yeah.
they
They
were
made
a
headway,
bit-
yeah.
They sure did, and they looked so exciting with the ball in their hand.
And
like-
we've better players than them.
yeah.
I mean,
And,
that's,
and maybe they weren't expecting. I mean, rugby's gone quite predictable in the last couple of seasons, and it's rare that you
So-
see a team running on.
I mean,
that.
we talk about. France have replaced. Say, like they're not picking Pickemolds. I mean, he's on the bench, but they've Shuley. But Shuley is not entirely dissimilar to Pickemolds in that he operates. Whereas Pickemolds operates 5 yards either side of the number 8 position in scrum. Shuley has expanded out to 10 yards either side, but it's still a limited
Still
area.
only 10 yards.
So you don't want to get into an arm wrestle with these guys. You want to get outside them.
Yeah, and does that, because the one other position that's really up for selection in the pack is it Murphy or O'Donnell at 7? I think O'Donnell, I mean, I wouldn't be unhappy to see either of them.
Mr. Sean
to
O'Brien
start.
might have a.
No, but
I
he
wouldn't say
might
about
he
that.
might be on the bench.
If O'Brien doesn't start, I'd have O'Donnell. I mean, he's earned it. I mean, it's as simple as that, I think.
Yeah, you have O'Brien to come in later
I
in the
think
game
the
with
biggest
Henderson.
questions would be be on the bench actually.
Yeah.
To see what we. I mean, will he go for Madigan over Keatley? I think he might because he
I think he
offers
will. I think
more
he will.
cover.
Certainly. Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if Luke will come back in. I know he was sick for the. for the A game, so maybe that hindered his chances of getting on the bench.
I'm still not. We were discussing this before. I'm not so sure that the likes of McFadden and Fitzgerald are as fit as dispatches are making them out to be.
Well, Fitzgerald allegedly only had a stomach bug.
Yeah, well, we know on Saturday / Sunday in between the two teams' selections. But I'd say the changes will be fairly minimal. I think that there'd be, if Healy's fit, he'll either come in or be on the bench. O'Brien either come in or be on the bench. Sexton will be in. I think Keatley will drop out of the 23. Simply for the same reason as Jackson used to drop out. In that Madigan offers more on the bench, and I don't think there'll be too many other changes, to be honest with you. I think Sean O'Brien will move to the bench instead of himself or O'Donnell will start, and the other will be on the bench.
So
I've heard arguments.
Murphy's missing out then.
Yeah. That's just the way of it. Sometimes
I've heard arguments for and against picking O'Brien, to put him into the starting team or pick him on the bench.
Well, it was the starting team he was going for this week, so maybe he'll do the same. Hard to know.
That being the case, I mean,
it's a slightly higher level playing France than Italy, you might say.
But Joe Schmidt has a funny way of doing things sometimes.
that's true. Yeah, you never. How many times have we, like, over the course of the, however many episodes of this we've done, picked what we were sure was going to be the team, only for it to be not at all the team.
Yeah, he seems to do things like where he'll. I don't know if it's a risk or a gamble or what it is that he does, but he seems to put players in that you think there was a better player there you could have used, but he'll have a reason for it, and it might be, the reason might be, well, actually we don't need him for this game because we're going to play this way, and even though he may be a better player, he's not a better player for what we're going to do on Saturday. So this is the kind of stuff you're up against with Joe
Plan
Schmidt.
17, blow off the dust. Yeah.
17A. However,
but I would certainly say that in a situation like we have, I would say that if we were picking 2 out of 3 back row players, and the 3 are O'Brien, O'Donnell, and Murphy, it would sadden me to say, but I think it would be Murphy would be the one I'd have losing out, because I think
you got to say, well, O'Brien's played 50 minutes of rugby in 4 or 5 months, so the likelihood is he's going to be breathing to his arse in after 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So he's going to need replacement sooner than normal.
You've got your magic card. You've got your special
Hendo
Ian
card.
Henderson card that you can stir around anywhere in the. You can shift things around. You can replace 2 back rows with whoever's on the bench at 20 and Ian Henderson. Now, the downside of it is it means
Then if O'Connell's getting fatigued, you need.
Well, I was about to say it means O'Connell and Toner have to play 80 minutes. However, they have a 2-week break, so playing if they're not actually injured,
I know.
it may make sense to play both of them for 80 minutes.
They might want Henderson specifically as a second row replacement, because France tend to bring on what's his name, as a second, and he's a power guy, and I think they might want Henderson to counter him.
You want someone coming on fresh for those.
Well, like moving. If you had Henderson on, moving him forward into the second row, it's a change of pace. It's it's a different. It's not a rest, as you've got more power stuff to do, but you've less speed stuff to do. So. It's a
tough one, I know.
I think the questions are there's 2 from 3 in a couple of positions.
Yeah.
And the 2 from 3 positions are McGrath, Healy, Cronin. And O'Brien, O'Donnell, and Murphy. It's perm 2 from 3 in those 2 positions. And to a certain extent, it's maybe Sexton, Keatley, and Madigan isn't as clear cut as we think. Now, I found out today, thanks to somebody on Leinster Fans, that Keatley hasn't played as much in other positions as I, for some reason, had the feeling that he had. But
played centre, hasn't he?
Yeah, but not as much as I thought he would.
And the odd time he's played full back, I think.
Yeah, but it turns out, I mean, I thought he would have had maybe a dozen appearances between Connacht and Munster in both positions. He hasn't. It's considerably less. So maybe that position, because he has done it before, maybe that kind of 2 from 3 isn't as clear cut as we thought it was. I still think it is. I think Joe likes to have Madigan on the bench, and I think he likes to have an orthodox.
Does he not shift out to 12 whenever JJ Henderson comes on? Does that quite a lot?
Hanrahan is usually the one at 12.
Was he?
Yeah.
Or else he's replacing him, one or the other. there's not really many other positions up for debate.
No, there's not. No.
Like maybe he gave what's his name, Jones, a run because he's gonna, he's worried about having Carney take a header, and he might want somebody to step up as a full-time full-back. And he obviously wants. Oh, the other interesting one, of course, is the centre. Is he going to give those two guys a run together? I think he might.
I think he will, yeah.
Give them a few games together to really gel, or rather than chop and change, bring in Fitzgerald or.
I don't see him changing the back five in terms of
move Henshaw out, put Darcy in, move Henshaw out, put Madigan in, move.
I think the nearest to contention could be Dave Carney, because just of his previous games for Schmidt, especially at Irish level. But
he's no game time though at all, so I can't see him going this weekend.
Well, he only got injured 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's no game time for Ireland, so I could see him maybe playing for Leinster this weekend.
Speaking of which, Leinster do play the Dragons in the Pro 12 on Sunday.
And we could have quite a few exciting players playing.
Could do, but
or not. We never know.
Well, you just don't know, because there was 9 guys in the match day 23 for Ireland against Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're throwing in other guys like O'Brien, Heaslip, Fitzgerald, Mike McCarthy, Redden. There's a few other lads. So it depends what the split is within the national team, and how many guys that he wants to bring.
Well, there's rumours that John Cooney has been asked for back off loan for Connacht, even though he's actually signed for them next year. There's a rumour that they want him back for the.
He's still a Leinster player until the end of the season, even if he is on loan.
But you'd have to think with Ireland that if Redden is back, then Boss is released. So maybe that means that Redden isn't back, and that's what the problem is, because you're not going to have more than you've got Redden, Boss, Marmion, and Murray. So you're not going to need all 4 of them if they're all fit. And plus, even if a guy is going to come off, if a guy isn't going to train with Leinster all week, even if he's going to be playing second fiddle in Ireland, you're going to want, he's going to be good enough to put on the bench, providing he's going to be released. He's not going to be a 24th man or whatever. He's going to have enough time in to play on the bench or to play from the bench. So the fact that they're looking for him tells me that maybe Redden isn't as close to fit as they say he is. So I don't know. We shall see.
It's always the hardest week in the year when you're a provincial coach in Ireland around this time of year, because you don't know who you've got available, you don't know who's really fit, because they're not under your watch.
And you've also got the added complication of you've 2 games in 5 days. Yeah. 6 days. We've got 3 home games in Dublin from Saturday to Friday, and Leinster's too. So the people who we want to get game time are probably going to get a start on the bench, like the like of if Kirshner's back fit, if Ruddock is back fit, Teo, if you've got either O'Brien and or Healy, if they're being sent to the province for game time, you're going to want them to play both. In preparation for England, let's say, you're going to want them to play a bench in one and a start in the other and get game time both. Even though it's a 5-day turnaround, you're going to want them involved.
The only thing is, we do have a certain amount of strength in depth. We will be able to put out a very strong pack.
We're almost all fit as well.
Yeah. We'll have Bent and Furlong. We'll have whichever hookers we get back, if any, depending on.
We'll have Brian Byrne. We'll have Brian Byrne and Aaron Dundon. At
least, yeah.
And that's no worst.
That's not bad.
Bloody
not bad
impressive.
Then we should have Mike McCarthy and Kane Douglas at least in the second row.
Mike McCarthy is next up for Ireland, though.
Well, you see, the one advantage.
He may have to train with Ireland.
He may have to be involved with Ireland, but the game's on Sunday, so we'll know if he's needed or not. And then obviously you've got like Dominic Ryan. We might have Jordy Murphy, maybe, if he's released. Might have John O'Brien. Might have Ruddock. So there's strength in that back row. Josh van der Fleer. There's guys there who can play. Conan. Yeah. Oh, geez, I forgot about Conan. You're right.
There's a lot there.
A lot of talent there. Half back.
Well, it's going to be
McGrath. Goppers, I'd say.
Yeah.
Centres probably be Darcy and Teo, I would suggest, or Reid and Teo.
Yeah.
I'd say it'll have to be Ben Teo. He needs the game time.
We need him sharp for
Yeah.
the end of the season, or why did we waste so much money on him?
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, we didn't waste any money on him, and there's no waste involved. But
We could have Dave Carney either or Luke Fitzgerald or Fergus McFadden or none of them or some of them. We don't know.
I don't know.
There's guys who played well in the British and Irish Cup might get a run out. Generally, one or two get bumped up for this game.
well, there's two in particular. Although Ringrose is with the under-20s.
Ringrose with the under 20s. Yeah, I don't. You know, he
Kelleher,
although
Who's the man you wanna
technically
see?
speaking, in the IRFU hierarchy,
Leinster are ahead of
Leinster
the
take
under-20s.
priority over the under 20s, which is an odd one, but that's the way it is. So, I'd say Keane Kelleher might get a
He'd be the one I'd pick.
yeah,
out of
he might
them.
get a bump up to the
Yeah.
big boys.
See, can he do it at the high level? You
Yeah,
know?
because he's certainly done it at A level.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. One big match that I think is of interest actually will be Connacht are playing Scarlets away.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a do or die match for Connacht. They do if they lose that game, Scarlets are going to catch them. If they win, they're back on our coattails.
This is a big game for Connacht. This is kind of one of the games that they need to win to get into Europe and to take that place from a Welsh team. So I think it's a significant game for them. They're going to be missing Hench obviously, but I think they've got everyone else back fit except for Heenan.
They're 5 points clear of Edinburgh and the Scarlets, and we're now into this odd position where, for the sake of Leinster, we want Edinburgh to beat the Ospreys, but for the sake of Connacht, we want the Ospreys to beat Edinburgh. So we're going to get a few of these games now where we're going to have torn loyalties. Obviously, we want Leinster to be in the best place, but we want the best of both worlds. We want Connacht to come in 6th as well. So it'll be an interesting. The English PRL promised us that our league would get more interesting, and hey,
I
they
think
were right.
Connacht are in a good position. Scarlets, do they have a lot of talent that's not in the Welsh squad?
I think they've quite a lot of talent that's not in the Welsh
I'm
squad.
not sure
yeah.
that they have. I think that Scarlets are disappointed. They've a couple of young players like Jordan Williams and etc. But they've an awful lot of holes in that squad as well.
Well, they're missing your man Samson Lee.
Yeah,
he'll be a big loss for them.
they signed Regan King to try and put a bit of bring a bit of class and put a bit of quality in.
And they'll have him.
But he's Regan King at 35. I mean, as
Still
all
got
great
all the
players
class.
like Ryan O'Driscoll and himself, I mean, he still has to. He eventually has to slow down, and Connacht aren't exactly rubbish in those positions either. So,
Is Bundy Aki back though?
is Bundy Aki back? I mean, Connacht seem to be strong enough at the moment. Actually, yeah.
It's a big ask for them. They've got to go. It is in Barky Scarlet. So
Yeah.
I don't know that
every
Bundy
team has
Aki
to-
is back.
Every team has to start somewhere. We had to start getting wins away in Wales, and so did they.
But they need to win this one.
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah, their run-in is horrendous after this, and Scarlets isn't so bad.
Quite so bad, no.
Well, another Irish-Welsh clash is Munster against Cardiff. It's the first Munster match in the new Musgrave Park.
Yeah, Munster are gonna hammer them. I'd say
They hammered them last year. They beat them 54.
something rotten.
Yeah, Cardiff beat Munster about 10 years ago. They beat them 60 points to 3.
It was the week after they were beaten in a Heineken Cup match.
But Munster have never forgiven them for that and have taken out a serious number of beatings on them since. And I think this will be another one.
One of these days, that Cardiff team are going to click and start winning games. I just don't think it's going to be next week.
I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
No, I think it will. I think it'll either click or it'll explode. There'll be a big fight, and your man will storm off the coach, or else it'll click and they'll start winning
They're
games.
They're
They're on
ninth
22
in
points.
the league.
Yeah, but they could actually come back into the shake-up
They
for
don't
that
look
middle.
like a team that's chock full of intestinal fortitude, to be honest with you.
No, they never have done.
Going away to Ireland, they never bother their arse. Even less when they hit the West Coast. Obviously Cork's down the south, but still the same kind of thing. They're not going to put up.
Did they come away with it? Was it them that came away with the draw from the sports ground?
Yeah.
Where they were getting hockeyed and they came up
That's
back
true, actually,
for a
yeah.
draw. So
I don't see them putting up much of a fight against Munster. To be honest with you. Munster, even without, it's not the strongest Munster squad the world has ever seen, and there'll be a lot of them in the Irish squad, but they'll still have far too much, I think, for Cardiff.
Oh, I agree.
Ulster played Treviso, so you got to think that's a fairly.
That's a
certain-
5-pointer.
Yeah. It wasn't banana skin in the past, though. Ulster nearly
No,
got on it.
They drew with
once
them a
they
couple of
drew
seasons
with
ago.
them,
Yeah,
But I know I can't say. Treviso are not what they were.
Plus, it's during the Six Nations, and all the good players are playing for
Zebre
Italy.
play Glasgow. Another gimme, I guess, for Glasgow.
It'll be quite a,
They're away, though, are they?
Yeah.
If Zebre had all their players and Glasgow were without all theirs, it might be a bit tighter. Because Glasgow are hugely hit by by Scottish rugby call-ups, but Zebre are equally hit by Italian rugby call-ups. So it'll be
Cancel each other out.
Anyway, boys, thanks very much, and thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much.